Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Rouge Radio podcast. My name is Robert Dalton, and I guess this is kind of cool because now we are editing live, and I've got a good friend of mine, Mr. Tony Allen. Tony, how are you doing today?
I'm doing better since I turned down the volume on my headphones because you almost blew my face off there with that intro, but I'm doing pretty good now. I'm back in here.
All right, so we decided to do a week one live. So if you are joining in, feel free to chat in. Doesn't appear to be anybody jumping in right now, but hey, this is cool. This is going to be saved to YouTube. This is a new adventure for the Rouge Radio podcast. Just going to dissect week one of the first week of the CFL 2022 season. First off, how are you? Are you back at home?
Yep. I'm back in some more familiar territory here in my own house. So a little calmer, a little bit more relaxed. I've had a few days off here, so got a chance to actually watch some football and doing pretty good overall. Better setup. Got my laptop now and my nice pro microphone, and I improved my backdrop too.
Yeah, I was just going to be like, hey, are you trying to kiss up to Mike Morreale? Awesome.
Yeah, dropping some there.
Yeah, Jeff Garcia, Mike Morreale. It's awesome. Maybe not as good as my Chris Bauman Elks jersey, but
no.
But we're going to go through week one of the CFL season. First off, what regular season football? It's good to have it back, right? Am I wrong? Or am I right? I guess I'm right. Yeah.
Oh, you're absolutely right. It's good to have some football back, and yeah, it was a pretty seamless transition to get back into enjoying watching football. The same excitement, same big plays, big dramatic endings, close football games, same whiners whining about the same things. Officiating is brutal. Instant replay is brutal. Everything is brutal, but we love having it back. It shows it's normal again.
Well, I don't give too many spoilers. So what we're doing is we're going through week one, and then we're actually going to record the weekly podcast right after. So look forward to having that soon in a couple of days. So let's start off with recapping week one. The first game opened up on Thursday. The Calgary Stampeders open up with a 30-27 win over the Montreal Alouettes, and I thought this was kind of like a tale of two halves, right? Mm-hmm. Montreal in the first half kind of, and it was like, okay, well, it's more about adversity and who's able to overcome it. And Montreal, they had the injury of Mario Alford, William Stanback, who is undergoing surgery, so hopefully he'll be back sooner rather than later, but it doesn't look promising as far as coming back this year. I mean, running back with a broken ankle, it's just not promising. But anyway, I digress. First half, Montreal kind of overcame their adversity, losing those two players, and they had a 24-14 lead going into the half. And then after that, it was all Calgary. And then they had their own adversity. Bo Levi Mitchell goes down, erring on the side of caution, and then they decided to storm back with 16 straight, or I shouldn't say unanswered, but they outscored Montreal 16-3 in the second half, and that was pretty much the difference. Your thoughts about that?
I thought I got pretty close to calling this one in our predictions. Like, Montreal and Calgary have played some pretty good football games, and that's kind of what I anticipated it being. Calgary had more fight at the end, which was like glad to see. I didn't know if it was going to have that still, but a strong run game. As a Calgary Stampeder fan, I'd have to say it was nice to see a very solid effort in the ground game. Bo Levi Mitchell still looking pretty consistently Bo Levi Mitchell, you can say now. Like, it's hard to say the bad throws and interceptions aren't part of Bo Levi Mitchell's game. I find it very difficult now. It's like, oh, that was a fluke. That was a fluke, where it looks like just bad interceptions at bad times of the game seems to be sticking with Bo as almost an earmark. Montreal, they looked very good. Vernon Adams was up to the challenge. They looked like the Montreal Alouettes team that I've enjoyed the last couple of years and thought I'd really like to see them make that next step. I'm not sure if they're ready to do it, but they look like the old Montreal Alouette team that could maybe win on a weekend, maybe easily lose on the next weekend. Consistency, possibly a problem for the Alouettes. But overall, I actually saw two teams that looked pretty similar. It would be interesting to see these guys play 3 or 4 times a year to see which way it would go, because I think they were pretty similar football teams. Like, I mean, look at these football clubs. I think they look very similar. I think they could play if this was the NHL and they met in the Grey Cup in the Stanley Cup style 7-game series. I think that would just be a hell of a 7-game. Unfortunately, it'd be like 7-week series, but I think you know what I'm saying. Like, if you could see that equivalent, I think you would see just 7 really great football games out of these teams. But the Stampeders had enough horses at the end. I don't know if that's a pun or not, but you know, they had the drive, and I thought they would overcome in this one, and they did. So it was, and I think I said too that watch out for this one. It could be the game of the week as far as 2 equal teams, and through at least the 3 weeks I texted you, I'm like, I think I'm right. Like, I think that was probably the best game of the week for me. But people say that you're a Stampeders fan, and they won, so of course you think it's the best game of the week. But I thought it was the most equally talented game of the week.
I think that a lot of people were just so kind of put off by last year's offensive output that, like, right after that game started or ended, everybody was put, like, to a man, was like, that game was better than anything that 2021 was able to put forth. And it's hard to argue that, minus the playoffs, because the playoffs were kind of entertaining last year, but it started off on a good note. A game that I attended to live in IG Field, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers eked out a win against the Ottawa Red Blacks, a retooled Ottawa Red Blacks team, 19-17. I don't know. I mean, maybe it was the angle that I had. To me, it seemed like it was slow moving, but with the occasional big play. And then there was some kind of controversy going up to the end. But we were on a streak of back-to-back games where a backup quarterback engineered a game-winning drive. Obviously, Jake Mayer did it in Calgary, and Drew Brown coming out of nowhere, 3 for 3 for 51 yards and engineering the game-winning field goal. Your thoughts on that one, if you happen to see it?
It was funny. I saw as much of it as I could, just being home, and you know, the kids occupy some of your time. And the one thing I thought was hilarious about this, Drew Brown coming in and doing what he did and looked very strong doing it, is for the last couple of years we've been making this connection between the Bombers and the Calgary Stampeders, and how the Bombers are kind of moving in and taking that place of the team that they just always get it done. And it was almost funny as a Stampeders fan to be like, oh, damn, is that what it's like when you watch a powerhouse team lose a quarterback and then another one just come in and take over and look dominant again? You know, like, oh my God, the Bombers are seriously doing it. It's like, oh God, here goes their number one, Zach Collaros. But then another quarterback comes in, and it's probably any position with the Bombers. Someone else comes in and they take over and they don't miss a beat. And this backup quarterback, because we saw it with Collaros, Strevler, now Brown. And it's just like, son of a bitch, this team just doesn't miss a beat these days, especially at the quarterback where it's supposed to be so difficult to find somebody in that position. Like, teams have been looking for quarterbacks forever, and the Bombers, well, they got the best out of Drew Willie before getting rid of him, and then got the best out of Zach Collaros, when even I myself would say how he's done. He's never going to be 2015 Zach Collaros anymore. And then it just keeps rolling. It just makes this the legend of the Blue Bombers continue.
As you see the banner below, the Bombers' last loss at home was an ugly win or ugly loss. It was against the Hamilton Tiger Cats, September of 2019. The Bombers have not lost at home since then, going on almost 2 years, and that's almost unheard of in these parts. Any the Bombers never got a running game going. I think it's Johnny Augustine was slow at a gate. Same with Brady Oliveira. They did try to get Brady Oliveira out of the flats and getting the ball into his hands as a receiver. Week one, it's kind of an extension of preseason. So you're, as an outsider, are you? Did you have expectations? Because you think that back-to-back defending reigning Grey Cup champions probably should have put up a little bit more offensive output. Any concern that Bomber Nation should have?
No, it was my point last week too. It's week one. You've got a lot of Americans in there now, will not know the rules or catching up. Just some older bodies that need to get up speed. Maybe they're not in regular season condition yet. I think it's what you see in a week one. Like, are we ready to go out and fear the Red Blacks because they were able to hold the Blue Bombers back for the majority of the football game and actually lead for a portion late in the football game? I don't know if we're ready to fear the Red Blacks. Maybe we'll notice them a little bit more, but I think that's one of those quirky, weird week one things that the beginning of every pro sports has. If you're going to pick the underdogs, week one is usually the time to do it.
Yeah. Brought my 14-year-old daughter for the first time in like 3 years. Had a blast. So good on Winnipeg for making bringing your daughter or kids to a game affordable, which seems to be a growing concern across the league. Although there were some people that were not able to hold their liquor. So, and it wasn't until after. And what irked me is that it's not something that was after the game. Tailgating before the game, you saw the IG Field crew cleaning up some puke. At halftime, you saw them cleaning up some vomit. So it wasn't pretty. The next game was a doubleheader. The next day, this doubleheader. Saskatchewan Roughriders hosting the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Final score 30. I can't remember what the final score was. 30-13. It seems like.
Just checking my notes. It was 30-13. Saskatchewan.
You called this almost to a T.
I feel I did.
At halftime, I don't recall the score, but it was relatively close. Hamilton comes out
like 9-6 or something silly.
Yeah, they force a turnover. They get a touchdown, or Saskatchewan gets a couple of field goals. They get a touchdown, Hamilton does, gets it within a point, and then everything kind of just went off the rails for Hamilton. You just got the feeling, you know what I felt like when watching this Hamilton team? Because their defense didn't allow touchdowns off of turnovers. But this really felt like the 2019 Grey Cup. Hamilton comes in, they just get sacked, they turn it over, and they allow a touchdown. But they had three turnovers in that game in 2019, and the first 3 or 4 drives, and they only gave up 8 points off of those turnovers. This is what that felt like, and Saskatchewan's offense didn't get into a groove. You could argue that they got into a groove at all, but they were moving the ball. They just couldn't get into the end zone aside from a couple of drives. But that Saskatchewan defense came as advertised. I got to admit, I thought the linebacking crew was going to be awesome. I think the defensive line, kind of proved me wrong. The secondary, because of that front seven, was able to keep the Hamilton receivers in check. And that was pretty much the storyline of the game. Your thoughts?
Yeah, my assessment was, I thought I had to text you because last week for the preview show, I said, we're going to be, this is going to be the rude awakening, maybe the thing for the Tiger Cats that we've overvalued, and I believe I said it was going to be close at halftime and the Riders would pull away in the second half. Now, it wasn't more like it was more the fourth quarter that the Riders pulled away, but the Tiger Cats just didn't really seem like they could keep it together, orchestrate anything. I think there was that one play that I think it was after I texted you too, because there was a big play by Dane Evans. It answered a Saskatchewan Rough Rider touchdown, and he hucked it down the field, and it was just wide open play, big touchdown. Tiger Cats looked like they were back in it again. But then the Riders just turned around and answered that Tigers touchdown with another one of their own. So it was, that's why I had to say, like, does this really count as pulling away? But I feel it did. At the end, the Riders secured the win. They made it look good. And, but I think what I also said in last week was, oh, it's just week one. I think it's the start of the Tiger Cats. Oh, it's just week one. Nothing to worry about. And then it'll be, oh, it's just week three. It's nothing to worry about. And then it's going to be, oh, the games don't matter till Labor Day. And I think and after watching that Tiger Cats game, I feel a little bit more vindicated, validated in that, people are going to be doing, the games don't matter till Labor Day, so don't worry about the Tiger Cats. And then it'll be, it only matters in November when you win. And so we'll see how Tiger Cats are going to navigate the 2022 season, because I don't think it's going to be as good as they think it is.
Controversy in this game, and we figure that we'll talk about it because we are recapping, because we are going to talk about it on the weekly podcast. Simone Lawrence at it again with a Rider quarterback. First off, is as expected, right? You just can't imagine. I'm going to go off the limb, and there's going to be a lot of people that are going to hate me for this because a lot of people thought this was a bad hit. I'm going to say not a clean football hit, but it's not as dirty as a lot of people are making it out to be. And I want to say one thing, because take Simone Lawrence out of the equation. Take Cody Fajardo out of the equation, and take the position out of the equation. Are we having this hissy fit? I shouldn't say hissy, but no, that's a incorrect term. Are we up in arms?
You're getting our dander up,
Are we up in arms if it's Javon Santos-Knox hitting Jamal Morrow? Is that hit an issue? Are we still talking about that today if it's Javon Santos-Knox hitting Jamal Morrow?
I think. Oh, sorry. Keep going. I didn't know if you were.
No, it was more of a leading you into question because I was just thinking, it's like, wait a minute, the player is still going down. Simone Lawrence is, going in, and I don't think it's late. And we've seen so it's not late. So now your issue is with the hit on the player, and people say, well, it's a hit on Fajardo, it's a hit on the quarterback. The quarterback was trying to run. So now we have to have that conversation is, okay, now are we having this issue if it's a running back, receiver? And now let's take Simone Lawrence out of the equation. Was it Javon Santos? Anybody else but Simone Lawrence? Are we up in arms if they're hitting another player on Saskatchewan's team? Now I'll let you take the floor now.
And I saw that argument on Twitter as well as on the feed that we had put up about it. Is this dirty or clean? And here's my problem, is because I saw the argument, well, it's football. He's a football player and there's hitting in football. But it is a double standard for quarterback. The quarterback is the most important thing we have in this game. He's not out there to get hit. He's not out there to take the big shots. He is someone we need to protect. It's why we have an entirely separate set of rules for quarterbacks. It's why it's like we put red jerseys on them in practice so you don't touch them. It's why we build our whole league around them. Yes, we absolutely have to have a double standard when it comes to quarterbacks. Is it a different conversation if it's a receiver and a DB? Yes, because that's part of the receiver's game. It's not part of the quarterback's game to get hit. And as far as the hit itself, we praise these guys for making lightning fast decisions on the offense when it comes to reading plays. It's the football knowledge, how fast he could read the defense and make the play, how fast the running back could find the opening and go through it, how fast the DB broke on the ball. It's amazing how fast these guys can think in a fraction of a second. But then a hit like that happens, and suddenly it's, the game is just too fast. He can't pull up. He doesn't have time. It's, how is he going to know? It was like, But how do we go from these guys being able to make decisions in a millisecond when it's amazing, and when the play is bad, suddenly it's like, well, the play was over, the quarterback was rushing, how was he going to know he led with his head? If they can make decisions that quickly, he can see that the quarterback's taken care of. He's getting wrapped up. There is a player in front of Fajardo as well, ready to make the play. If you're coming in from behind him, dropping your shoulder, your arm, whatever you want to call it, you're going in there to make a hit that you want to make. You're going to make the highlight reels. I think it was absolutely, even if you don't want to define it as dirty or clean, it was a stupid hit. It was an unnecessary hit, and 100% he could have stopped it, seen it coming, and avoided. If these athletes are supposed to be able to read plays the way we claim they do when they find a hole in the defensive line to make big plays, or a quarterback reading defense, or being able to break on a football because you see the quarterback's eyes shifting, they can make those decisions. But you see a quarterback who's clearly going down, another defender who's right in his way, and you come flying in from the blind side to smoke him. It's a stupid play. It was meant to hit.
Mhm.
It was meant to showcase. It was meant to make the highlight reels. There was nothing football, strategic, tactical, or necessary about it. I think it was just, it's an absolutely, you absolutely have to have a double standard with quarterbacks. You can't have that guy going down with absolutely unnecessary hits like that.
Yeah, and no, I completely understand it. My argument for what I went is in regards to, it was more so the hit didn't seem to be the issue. It was who delivered the hit and who he hit. Like, the hit didn't seem to be, oh my God, it's like, oh, I can't believe that hit, that we need to take that hit out of. It was, the argument that I saw was, it was Simone Lawrence. It was Simone being Simone. He got a penalty, obviously a 15-yarder.
Yeah.
You see a suspension.
But again, it was the same thing with, I don't know about a suspension. If there is, I'm not disappointed with it, because again, you are talking about a player and his character. It was the same beef we had with Kyrie Bear when he was always hurting people, ending, it was just awful. And it's my biggest beef with this. If Simone Lawrence is like that, you have to take notice. It's that it's that absolute garbage. He hurts people. I hate him. He's a piece of trash, but I'd love him on my team. So what does Simone Lawrence hear out of all of that? I'd love him on my team. He doesn't hear that he's garbage. He's a cheap shot artist. He hurts people, but I'd love him on my team. We've got to get that out of our sports vocabulary. Oh, sure, he's ended a guy's career. Oh, sure, he'll cheap shot you. Oh, sure, he'll step on you when you're down, but I'd love him on my team. And then where does any of the accountability go after that? Because all that player hears is, I'd love him on my team. And we've got to get that line out of our sports vocabulary, because
and you know what?
He's never going to change. He'll keep hitting quarterbacks. He'll still injure people. And then people are, but what, you love me on your team, wouldn't you? I know, because I've heard you say it. So I'm never going to stop. I'm never going to stop hurting people. And it has to absolutely be about Simone Lawrence. This whole take the person out of it is a protectionist mentality to protect more the game than it is players like that.
And you know what? We're probably going to have a conversation in a couple of weeks, or maybe next week, of, if there is a suspension, let's say that they suspended him for 2 games, similar to how they suspended him 2 years ago for the hit on Zach Collaros. The CFLPA, would they appeal it? And how does that look for, one player in the CFLPA hitting another player under the CFLPA, and the CFLPA backs the guy that delivered a hit? Completely just, I understand it's unionized. I understand that, but it's the optics do not look good on that one. But obviously, I don't want to spend too much time talking about something that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
Last game of the week, the BC Lions. was like,
What the hell was that?
what
What the hell was that? Like,
I don't know. The Edmonton Elks, two teams that were supposed to rebolster their roster, and it looked like BC was ahead of the game, 59-15, a complete whooping. Funny story. I'm in the Canadian Football Podcast Fantasy League, and I started Nathan Rourke, and I can't believe who I had as two running backs. Then I realized I had some. I decided, okay, you know what? I'm going to draft Devontae Williams out of Ottawa. So I made a substitution at running back, and I realized I have a lot of money. So I took Nathan Rourke out, added Zach Claris in, and it's not like Zach Claris cost me anything, and I ended up getting the W anyway. But I would have won my matchup handedly with Nathan Rourke. And how funny is this? I had Nathan Rourke, and I was like, okay, I'm just playing with fire. Nathan Rourke is my quarterback, and I had dressed the Edmonton Elks D. The Elks actually lost me 4 points, and had it not been for that, I mean, I still got the W in the week 1 matchup. But anyway, I don't really feel that there's much to talk about. But how about that atmosphere in BC? That was just like awesome. Everything from the pregame to tailgate, concert, and the game itself. Like big round of applause to BC Lions fans who they waited for a game like this. It just seems like, I don't know, 2016 when they thought they had it with Jonathan Jennings. But your thoughts on this game, because I don't imagine there's too much that we can talk about it.
Oh, just the stars aligning perfectly for the BC Lions on that evening. It was you've got a new owner that wants to market exciting football, the love of the BC Lions, making it their team, and all of this stuff. He goes out, makes a big production. One Republic comes in to do a concert, 30,000 plus show up, and they are treated to one of the most astounding ass kickings, I think, that has happened in BC Lions history in the last 20 years that I can remember. But that was just unbelievable. Like, everything that can go right went right for the BC Lions, and you're already just breaming with excitement over this Lions team. And then you've got a Canadian quarterback putting on an absolute clinic. The numbers are just gross. Like, I don't even know how it's just gross. Like 26 of 29 passing, like almost 300 yards in the air. He throws for 2 runs, 1 or 2 in, like just absolutely gross to watch. If you're a fan of the West, you've got to be like, oh my God, is this kid for real? Are we actually in trouble? And to come from a Canadian kid too, it's just like, I get, like, you can't see it probably. Can you see the hair standing up there? Like
the goosebumps
about it. Yeah, it's just amazing. I love it.
It was also a first time since forever. Mike from the Turf District podcast tweeted out the first time that 2 teams at the same time had a Canadian quarterback under center. Trey Ford was in the game momentarily, but it's not picking sides, but this is a good look on Chris Jones. For anybody that really, really, really has an issue with Chris Jones, they were gleaming from ear to ear. So that'll do it. That's it for our week 1 recap. We're going to do a live version. Tony, you got this week's Magnificent Bastard?
Oh, yes, I do. It was the guy I was just dreaming about right now. How do you not? There was a lot of great candidates, but come on, in the patriotism, what we saw out of him, the numbers I just threw out are just absolutely gross. The gross is the only way. Like, that was just gross what he did to those poor Edmonton Elks. But after, like, such a feel-good story. So my week 1 Magnificent Bastard goes to Nathan Rourke. You magnificent bastard.
There we go. We got it on the screen there for
There
you
we
for
go.
all those wanting to. Congratulations. I don't know. I haven't been really keeping track of all the bastards that you've been handing out. This is probably the first Canadian
Maybe,
that we've been.
possibly.
You usually it's some guy who just has one big play in the
Yeah.
grand scheme of things. It doesn't really get noted too much. So for those of you who haven't, I did see a couple people tune in. Appreciate coming in to watch. Obviously, this will be on our YouTube page to chime in. You could view this all that you want. Hopefully, we'll make this a weekly tradition. So at this point, thanks for watching, and we will see you next week for week 2 recap.